Hello. Welcome to the Mortician and the Veterinarian. That's Derek.
That's Heather.
And this is Mink. She's our guest today. She's also my little sister. We're sorry about the road noise. We have heard you guys on the first few episodes, and we understand that it's an issue, and we are waiting for Amazon to deliver our microphones.
Amazon Prime, and we ordered them yesterday, so they should come in tomorrow.
So our next episode will have better hearing ability, sound ability, audio. There's the word I was looking for.
Audio quality, sweetheart.
Mink's in the back. She's catching Pokemon.
I'm playing Pokemon Go. I've finally gotten into it, and I'm obsessed. It's a feedback loop, and I love it.
Well, they're doing a thing now where if you are in the car, it's going to say that you're running too fast
I
if
just
you're in
got
the car.
that,
And you have to
actually.
click it and say, I'm a passenger.
Yep. Just happened when I was getting coffee.
Because there were idiots who were playing it while they were driving.
I think I remember that.
God bless America.
Don't drive in Pokemon.
Don't drive in Pokemon.
Don't
It's
drink
not
and
worth
drive.
it.
Don't Pokemon and drive. Don't all sorts of other distracted
That
driving
Rattata is
because
not worth it.
I
There's
don't
so
want to
many-
die because of you guys.
Yeah. We don't want to die because you're a Pikachu.
What I do want, though, is this Eevee that is somewhere, but it hasn't popped up. What the hell?
I'm not sure what to tell you, my dear. So, Mink is visiting from Florida. Florida is where we grew up, where I grew up. And I came out here 6 years ago because I followed a dude. Not this dude, a different dude. But I got rid of that dude. I traded in for a much better model.
Thank you to that dude for bringing it out here. Not for anything else.
Not for anything else.
Yeah.
No, he was a pretty useless human otherwise, but... So Mink's here from Florida. What's the biggest difference between Florida and here?
I mean, probably how much of a blue state it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of just feels like the overall vibe of it.
I didn't expect you to say that. So, in 24 hours, what feels different blue statey?
Let me take a sip of my hot coffee to think. I also burn my tongue.
Well, we were in the city yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of my bias. I don't know, where I'm at is very suburban. Where we've grown up is very suburban. There's not really a mix of people, you know. But in California, it seems like you'll meet all types of characters, and I think that's freaking awesome.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say the hills, because for me, the hills are the biggest change. I love that there are hills. It still blows my mind when I'm driving on the highway. 6 years. I've been here 6 years already. I must be confusing everyone as I'm sitting here wearing a New England Patriots jacket talking about how I'm from Florida, but I live in California now.
Mm-hmm.
I should be a Dolphins fan or a Niners
Fuck
fan.
the Dolphins.
Or a Raiders fan.
Sweetheart, you're a complex, beautiful flower.
Thank you.
I'm actually a shrub.
So what bad words can we say on here?
You can say whatever bad words that you want, but don't forget that it is going up online.
That's what I figured.
So you should...
Well, technically, if you say the F word once, it still gets to be PG-13.
Oh, so we used up our one
I'm
on the
so
Dolphins.
No, it's fine. So now we just can't have an audience under 13.
I don't think we were really aiming for an
Me
audience under
either.
13.
So, did you want to explain the Patriots and all that stuff? Or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally can. So my dad was in the Air Force, but most importantly, my dad is from Massachusetts. From Belmont, Massachusetts, and Boston, Massachusetts. And so he is... Boston. He's a Massachusetts boy, and so he comes by his Patriot fan, honestly. And so the Patriots and the Dolphins were always who we watched growing up. And I decided to side with the winners.
Well, your whole family is Patriots fans, and that was one of the cool things for me coming into your family. Like, I was part of the family, or at least I felt that way far before I ever met anybody, or even before you and I got, crazy serious.
Are we crazy serious?
We're crazy serious at this point. Because we would go to... So, Heather has a bar that she goes to Patriots games at, every single Patriots game.
It's called the Buccaneer.
The Buccaneer in San Francisco.
And football starts in 33 days, I think, so I'm really excited. I'm going to be at the Buccaneer.
And so she has a spot that is always protected for her. The bartender always knows what to serve her when she comes in, all that good stuff.
This is my favorite place. It's like going to my own personal Cheers.
Yeah, exactly. And so
what was the bar called in Cheers? Was it called Cheers?
It's called Cheers.
Got it.
So she graciously allowed me to start coming along, and so not only was I going to the games with her, but then she has a family thread, and most of the time is whoever in the family is not flying around the world or doing whatever or busy,
We're watching the game.
we'll be watching the game and texting one another and everything. So that was actually how I got on the family thread the first time around.
It was.
And since then, I've been on it continuously, and it's just the coolest, funnest thing.
I love our family friends.
It's a great family thread.
Actually, I think that that's really unique about both of our families, because you have a family thread too, and
Yeah.
I get to be a part of that family thread, and it's also really excellent and a nice way to just kind of see what everybody is doing for the day.
Well, and it's honestly, for both of them, like a daily thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
it really is. It's awesome. So
Why did I bring that up?
because we were talking about the Patriots.
Yeah.
My heart.
Well, so anyway, that's part of the cool thing is that the family rallies around the team, and so if there was nothing else, there is a lot else that really binds you guys and that you guys talk about and everything, but it's really cool because you all have this intensity about the team.
We do. We are very intense about it, like to the point where I have a tattoo. And I add to the tattoo every time we win a championship.
It's turning into a whole sleeve at this point.
I know. I have no shame about that. Okay, so Florida's much more blue. So do you mean that, like, because we were in the city and there were...
California's much more blue.
I'm sorry, yes. California is much more blue. Because we were in the city and, like, there were a whole bunch of, like, LGBTQIA
Yeah,
plus.
I don't get to see that as much where I'm at.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, like, I do when I'm at school because...
Well, you go to an art school.
Yeah, I go to an art school, and a lot of people there are part of the LGBT community. But outside of that, it's a bit of a bubble. So it's nice to be in... I'm sorry, Beth.
No, go ahead.
In a... where it's not so much of a bubble as much as it just is like, hey, we exist. This is the thing.
This is the norm.
Yeah.
I saw the cutest couple in the airport the other day that they were greeting each other, and it was like... I love living in California because it was, you have to come down the stairs in order to get to the baggage claim to meet whoever it is that you're meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And so on one hand there was just a heterosexual couple, and then on the other hand there was a gay couple, and it was just, everybody was so sweet and happy, and I can't wrap my brain around wanting to deny the ability to just be in love to anyone. Or even off that, the ability to just do whoever you want to do, because sex is awesome.
I'm a fan.
You know? Just saying. Alright, so, art school.
Hey.
Yeah, you're going to an art college now.
I am.
But-
Arts college.
By the way, now that we've hit the road noise, unfortunately, Mink, you might have to project a little bit.
Project. I have to yell.
You have to yell a little bit.
Oh boy. Sorry.
So Mink and I both went to an art high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a magnet program, and you had to audition to get in. And the art high school was split into different subjects that you could study. And I was a communications major.
I was also a communications major.
Which is kind of funny that you're an art major now.
Well, I had tried out for art, but they actually didn't accept me.
Well, clearly your college got it together.
Yeah.
And they knew what to talk about. Or knew what the important stuff was. So we've had this really unique experience of getting to go to art high schools. Did you guys have anything like that in your college? Or, I mean, high school, obviously, you had, like...
You guys? Me?
Yeah, you.
What?
Did you have anything like a magnet program, or...
What's a magnet program?
Magnet program is a special kind of program within a school, or that makes up a school, that draws students particularly and gets extra funding for stuff. So like,
a school within a school?
Yeah, kind of. Like,
we had things like that. I was never involved.
Got it.
But as you recall, I only did 2 years of high school.
Derek is brilliant. He doesn't tell everybody this all the time, but he only did 2 years of high school before he graduated, and then he went on to college. And then he did college extraordinarily fast and went on to get a master's degree. And then he went to vet school and became a doctor because his brain works at light years faster than the general public.
Rad.
Brad. Yeah, and honestly, it was only something that I did because my brother had done it before me. My brother's a lot smarter than I am. I just happened to be the one that kind of applied it to a more traditional academic route. Anyway, in any case, yes, they had things like that. I personally went to Berkeley High School, and my girlfriend at the time went to the school within a school. And it was amazing. And I honestly always felt like, I mean, we had very different high school experiences because I was in essentially a high school of 2,000 kids, and she was essentially in a high school of like, 100 kids. And they did all sorts of cool stuff. They did retreats and special projects and events and all sorts of stuff like that. So, I think it's a pretty cool experience for those who are into it.
Yeah, it really is definitely unique. It's hard to describe how different it is, but in a very conservative state, this was like a bastion of freedom for anybody who identified as being different or was just kind of weird, or we were known as being the school of weirdos, for sure. I spent my entire sophomore year not wearing shoes.
Which is so weird because you've become so conventional.
Oh yeah, you know me. I have definitely, shaken off those feathers of being a weirdo. Just kidding, stay weird, be kind, for life.
Did you just do the... Oh man. So, did you guys, I'm assuming that both of you really enjoyed high school?
Yeah, people talk about how much they hated high school and what an awful high school experience they had, and I really didn't.
Good.
I had a lot of freedom.
Good.
I ran a nationally acclaimed news magazine, and we have this amazing yearbook that I designed, and it was all around just a really cool experience. We were always doing something different. We had a giant around the school.
What was his name?
Cake fight. Alexander W. Dreyfus Jr. High School of the Arts. That was his name.
Oh.
Hey-o.
Oh, jeez. That was cool. Cool.
No, it was a really, really cool experience. I'm trying to think of a movie equivalent. Basically, the movie equivalent is when they show on high school people in high school, and you get the weirdos and all the theater kids. That was like our school, but that was everybody.
Freaks and geeks.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Except that there's an entire thing just for theater kids too, and I was friends with most of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Mink's going to an art college now. She's going to
New College in Florida.
Florida.
A little teeny tiny place.
800 students.
800.
Yeah,
800
it's tiny.
students. That's so small. What were the art classes that you took last semester?
Last semester I took drawing 1, sculpture 1, and printmaking.
And this year, sorry.
There's a whole class of printmaking?
Not usually every 4 years or so I jumped on that.
That's awesome.
My teacher was really, really cool. I actually need to keep in contact with her.
Is that where you made the print blocks?
Yeah.
Everybody, you need to check out Mink's art. Do you have a website?
Hypercarnivore.com.
Hypercarnivore.com. Her art is amazing, and she does these cool limited runs, sort of like what Heather's doing. They're both in the phase of doing one project to fund the next project.
Yep.
So if you want to see what comes next, it's really worthwhile.
I know, I totally wish that we had a version of this to show. Now, were those, the skull prints that you did, were those Lino cuts?
Yeah, those were Lino cuts.
Lino cut, okay. See, I always say it wrong.
How do Lino cuts work?
Lino. They're pretty interesting. So they're basically like, the erasers, the pink erasers you have?
Yeah.
Kind of like just a big block of that, the rubbery.
Okay.
And then
But it's smooth.
But it's smooth, yes. And then you have special tools that are carving tools. And it's...
Is it attached to a giant pencil?
No, it is not,
Okay.
unfortunately. Can't get rid of big mistakes. But...
Thank you for going with me on that one.
You're welcome. I got you. Improv is yes and.
Yes, and.
You were right.
And so it's actually.
Tom would be so proud of us.
Yeah.
I think it's really calming to cut into lino, whatever. Either way, it's really fun. One thing that is hard though is if you're doing text or words, you have to remember to put it backwards.
Right.
Same with any other design.
Because you're going to print it, you're going to flip it. If you design it here, you're going to take it limited edition mirror print.
Yeah, something
Well,
like that.
but then you have the artifact itself, and you can like frame.
You
Yeah.
can,
You know, you can just like
you can totally do that.
yeah.
No, the fun thing about print making too is that you're supposed to try and make everything as similar as possible. So that's how you can make the mark of a good printmaking artist is that their entire run will be very similar. Then you have something called artist prints, which are the ones that aren't quite the same or are a little bit of a mess up, but you happen to enjoy them. And they're kind of like the accidental mess ups that you can turn into limited edition things. Like I've had double prints of some of the ones that I've made. It's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you say that they're consistent throughout the run,
Yeah.
I'm imagining one stamp that you're using over and over
You
again.
are using it over and over again, yeah.
And so the mistakes come in like how you're coding it or how you're stamping it.
In the way that you're coding it,
See,
in the way
that-
that you're stamping it, in
that
what
was
you're
what I had a
applying
hard
it
time
with.
with, yeah.
One thing that you can do is
Yours
you
are
can
really
actually,
variable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make a frame kind of so that you can put the paper and then make a frame for where you put your block.
Uh-huh.
So you can have like the same spacing, I guess, and that's what I had to do.
Okay.
An interesting thing about Lino too is that when you carve away, there will be little pieces and lines that will still catch the ink.
Okay.
So if you're really particular about it, you'll have to ink it, and then you can wash away the extra ink very carefully.
Uh-huh.
It's a very arduous process, and I'm not sure why my brain was like, we're going to hand print 50 of these. I counted them out, and I had like 30 misprints that just didn't make the pass. Like,
Really?
Oh yeah. In
I had no idea.
In keeping in line with making it as similar as possible, I had a lot of ones that just weren't good enough.
See, but I kind of like the ones that end up having the character
Me
and the
too.
mess-ups. I mean, I get the idea of perfectionism and that is, you know, the way that you show that you've mastered the art of it, but I think there's just something about the character that comes along with the little teeny tiny variations and variables and all of them.
Or even big ones. I mean, when I saw yours and
Yep.
how different they were, I initially thought that was kind of the charm of the medium, but now what you're talking about makes sense because every medium is going to have those who enjoy kind of the
Slapdashery.
process, and
Yeah.
then there are the ones who are going to enjoy the most perfected version of
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
whatever it
mean,
is
you
you're
can
doing.
go either way with it. It's not saying that if there's an artist who happens to like the slapdashery, they're not wrong at all. You know, it's just kind of what I was taught, I suppose. But with art, it's always the best way to break the rules is to know them first.
Like etiquette.
Yeah.
All right, so what art classes are you taking this semester?
It's looking like for this semester I'm just going to take one, but it's going to be oil painting, which I'm really excited and also kind of scared.
What do you know about oil painting?
Nothing.
Is it going to be
Interesting.
wet on wet oil painting?
It can be wet and white, yeah.
You just watch Bob Ross the whole time?
Yeah, I can.
And just
I
could
wish
just
that you
watch
would. That man is awesome.
Happy little treats.
I fall asleep to Bob Ross all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
He, you know, people do not appreciate that band because he really, like, it takes skill. Like, even here, talking to a video camera while I have other people to assist me, like, I have a difficult time not running out of things to say on occasion.
Right.
And that man managed to hold up for, like, 30 to 45 minutes an entire pitter-patter of constant conversation with somebody who wasn't even there. And it's sensible and it feels like he's talking to you and he's giving good, clear instructions. Like, I have so much respect for him.
Also, he did this really cool thing where someone wrote in and he said, Bob, I love your paintings, but I'm colorblind, so I can't really paint. And Bob was like, that's ridiculous. Let's do one in grayscale to show that you can in fact
Really?
paint. Yeah.
cool.
I love the
also-
man. See,
yeah.
he's disability friendly.
Yep. He was also, I think, a drill sergeant of some sort.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
And then he decided that he would never yell again.
I love it when he just beats the heck out of the brush.
Yep.
And that's what he calls it. Beating the heck out of
In
it.
the heck.
That was a terrible version of it, but
Apparently the guy that he learned from hated him because he, quote unquote stole the method even though Bob Ross asked permission to learn it, and then sell it. And it's a technique. It's not like one guy owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating when people monetize something that you're good at and you can't figure out how to monetize it, but that sounds like jealousy to me.
Well, I like Bob because I think that he kind of made it accessible to people. And I've always wanted art to be easily accessible.
That was his whole goal. That's why he wanted to adopt that particular type of, that particular technique.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in Florida.
Florida.
He died in the 80s or the 90s, which I'm so sad about because I would love to write him a letter.
Do you know why he had the big afro?
Yes, I do.
Mink?
Do you know why?
Wasn't it perms or something?
Yes, but do you know why?
No.
So that he didn't have to pay for haircuts because he had such a small budget.
Oh, really?
He hated it. He didn't like it, but it became such a big part of his identity that he had to keep it.
Yep. Isn't that ridiculous?
I had no idea.
We love you, Bob Ross.
Thanks, Bob.
We really love you, Bob Ross, so much.
All right, so we talked about printmaking. What is on the agenda for your next academic year?
I'm taking a full course load. Okay, so the thing about new college is we have registration. It doesn't actually lock us into classes.
Of course,
go figure. Instead, what we have is something.
Okay,
called-
wait. For anybody who hasn't been to college, the way that this works is there's a limited number of seats in each class. The way that you get into the classes is you get priority listing. So if you're a senior, you get more priority than freshmen do.
Yes.
To get into certain classes. There's usually time periods, like the seniors will get an earlier period of time to sign up for classes, and then juniors, and then sophomores, and then freshmen, they'll all get their times to sign up for classes. And then once you're in the class, that's it. You're in the class and you go. Sometimes you can get waitlisted if the class is already full, so that if somebody doesn't like it or it doesn't sound interesting and they drop the class, then you can sneak in and take the spot, but not always.
Okay.
Sorry for the leading camera, everybody.
Yeah. So basically, everything that Heather just explained is not applicable in New College of Florida because why not? Instead, what we have is something called mini classes, where the professors give basically a demo of their class, which is about an hour long. And so you're walking around campus all day for a couple of days, picking out what you want. And from there, you can kind of get more of an idea of what it's like.
Which is such a much better idea of taking classes.
Helpful because just by, on paper, some classes I had been interested in, and then I found out that the professors, they didn't match my style of learning, and I'm really glad that I dodged those bullets because it's so hard to learn if you don't have a professor that matches up with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you say you've signed up for classes, what you mean is you've signed up for those mini classes and then you lock it in after a certain period of time?
Basically, so what happens is the best thing to do is you make sure that you go to the mini class, you sign in so they see that you're there, and then you talk to the professor as well. I've been in classes that don't have as many freshmen, which I'm not anymore. That's crazy, just because I made sure to talk to the professor and be like, hey, I'm really interested in this. That's how I got into entomology, which was a really, I guess, competitive to get into.
Huh.
But I made sure that the professor knew.
Yeah.
And with New College, too, there's been some people who would just show up to classes regularly to the point where the professor is just like, all right, you're in. Yeah.
It's definitely a different learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, there's also like the human sexuality class was really hard to get into, and I didn't because that one leaned on priority as well.
Right, that makes sense.
So it's a mixture of both, but overall I really like it.
Did you have any classes that you desperately wanted to get into college that you didn't get into?
None that immediately come to mind. No.
Well, fine.
But I mean, I had much more of like the public college experience, and so what you're talking about is kind of interesting because I was always the really I was that guy. I was really proactive and made myself known and really kind of
sat in the front row, even in vet school when I skipped a bunch of class and then the teacher got really upset at me and yelled at me in the cafeteria. Don't be, she said, don't sit in the front, be blonde, be vocal, and then skip class. I'm onto you.
Yeah.
You little bastard.
Yeah. Dr. Irby.
I mean, I've already got through 4 of those. Uh-oh.
So, what was coming to mind as you were talking about that was your college is a lot smaller, and so the more amorphous rules seem to make some sense because it's less likely that somebody's going to fall through the cracks, even if they're not the type of person who is going to be, not going to have a lot of initiative or whatever. Whereas in the schools that I went to that were all really, big, and it was just, it was all on you, and there were so many people that if you didn't push, then nobody cared and nobody tried to catch you.
Right. Yeah, I really like this school because of how personal it is. I've figured out that I work better when it's more one-on-one or smaller, so I was very fortunate to be able to chase that type of education.
I think that a lot of people work better that way.
Yeah,
I mean, overall, everybody, our whole monkey sphere, there's only 50 people we can really know and think about at any given time.
Yeah.
I haven't heard monkeys be a reference in a while.
You're welcome.
That's actually a pretty good one. You should explain that to people.
So monkey sphere, I am not being true to the whole concept, but the idea is that us having evolved from primates or similar primates.
Is that the end of it?
Yeah.
I'll split it with you.
Whose social groups were certain sizes, our biology, our brains, and our attention, and our empathy, and all of those sorts of things can only be applied to the creatures that we know personally. And it's really only possible to kind of hold in your head and also spend enough of your time with about 50-ish people that you can know enough about to be personally invested in. And so anything beyond that monkey sphere is basically just an idea, which kind of helps explain why we're so willing to...
Aren't people in general just an idea, though? I mean, really?
Yeah, no, but all I mean is, if somebody in my monkey sphere gets harmed, I have a much different emotional, intellectual response to that than somebody outside of my monkey sphere.
Right.
Because,
much more invested.
Yeah, it triggers different parts of my brain, and so, it helps explain why we're so willing to let bad things happen to people who we don't know, etc.
Or not make a big fuss about it.
Yeah, as they say, one death is a tragedy and a million deaths is a statistic.
Yes.
We just can't.
It's too many.
We just can't apply our emotions to that.
Well, that was kind of like the TV show we were watching last night. We were watching this show about... I don't even know what it was called.
It was fantastic. It was so great.
It was so nerdy.
It was so nerdy. Battlefield Recovery.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
check it out, folks.
It's on Netflix.
Only if you want to be sad. So basically, it's this group of guys who are going to all of these battlefields in World War II and trying to find artifacts from the battlefields, or in some situations they're also hunting to find bodies or people who had died in certain positions and trying to bring them back home to their families.
Did they ever find Max?
Not even close. They didn't find Max. They didn't find anybody at the second location, and then at the third location they stumbled upon a body they didn't even expect.
Damn.
Basically, these people, there's no way that
I shouldn't laugh about that. I'm sorry. That was somebody who died.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. That was very kind of you to look at it. We laugh because of how ludicrous it is. It's set up so ridiculously that it's not a real television show.
It's 4 guys, 3 Brits and 1 American, who have not clearly figured out before the show started who was going to be in charge or whether there was going to be any format to their interaction. And they just grabbed some cameras, just sprint out into Latvia and start digging. And
it's like the most bastardized version of archaeology that could ever possibly exist.
There's no hyperbole to this either. They just start digging.
They just start digging, and they're like, no, I think we should do it this way. No, I think we should do it that way. And then they're being really careful when they're excavating these bones over 3 hours instead of
3 weeks. Which is how it should be, because real forensic archaeology is slow and painstaking and very tedious process, because you have to document every single thing, and you're trying to be careful and exposing the artifacts to different temperatures or different weather conditions from what they've been into for so long can damage the artifacts, and it was a little cringeworthy, honestly, to watch these guys.
It was very cringeworthy.
Because it was just like, oh, No, you're destroying things.
But what's so great is that they're destroying things and doing everything. Even as a layperson, I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me.
Yes.
And sure enough, Heather did some research and found out that the archaeological community just thinks that this is the worst show.
No, it's
Can you hold on to that for me, please? Keep
Yep.
talking.
Oh, okay. I'm doing this. I'm doing this by hand. This is a bastardized version of a podcast, I guess. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, everybody.
All right.
Good?
Yes. We apologize. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. I should have turned music on.
So, in any case, these guys are just sprinting around digging this stuff out of the ground, and then in the first episode, they see a random car, and they just assume that it's people who are black diggers, they call them, who are illegal diggers, and so just to screw these guys, who they don't even go over and check and ask who they are, what they're doing there, or anything, they fill in the thing that they found and just cover it back up, assuming that they automatically found every possible thing in there in a 12-hour period.
Realistically, all I can think is that those guys in the car were probably like some Latvians or the Latvian police sitting there being like, what are these
What the hell are
idiots
these people doing?
But what was really disheartening to me was just how energetically enthusiastic they were about just finding these things that are about people's lives and deaths.
Yeah.
And then they got all sort of, not self-righteous, but like saccharine, basically, about this one particular body that they did find, and it's like they had nothing that I would have expected in terms of an approach to history that was kind of appropriate to the subject.
So the whole reason I brought it up is because when you're talking about World War II, the number of statistics that you're talking about, I mean, it just ends up being so overwhelmingly huge when you're talking about the number of deaths. And I think they were talking about in the Soviet Union, 1 out of 10 soldiers who...
No, it was
the Germans?
1 out of 10 German POWs
To the Soviet Union.
Did not return.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew the Soviet Union was involved somehow. So yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. It makes me think about how archaeology is shown on television and in the movies when it is shown, which really, I mean, I can think of 2.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones. I think that's it.
And I mean, even when you watch a documentary that is about a particular archaeological discovery or something, and it's the archaeologists themselves showing you their work and all that sort of stuff, even they will tell you, they're like, we're condensing all of this together and putting it on film. This whole process is just unbelievably tedious and
Years. We're talking about years.
prolonged. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, you think about it, and like these guys on the show would find something and they'd be like, "Come here, quickly!" It's been there for 70 years, and we have quite a while to